Well, hello everyone, and I want to welcome you to my channel. I know some of you have been following me for a very long time, and I really have been delinquent at keeping up with this. But I've renamed the channel because my stage of life has changed. When I started the channel, it must have been, I'm sure, at least 14 years ago. I was still raising one child at home. She was still in elementary school, and I was just learning this YouTube thing. I remember uploading my first video and I was like, wow, I did it. I'm a YouTuber now. But anyhow, that was short lived. But YouTube did become a really good tool because as a holistic health practitioner, I was able to use it for a lot of things, a lot of stuff that I could bring forth to my clients. I could use it. And now I'm using a lot of it with several different channels. I'm using a lot of it to provide teaching and course content and, of course, an app content for my clients. But I've really neglected this channel, haven't I? And really, honestly, I've got some good subscribers here. A lot of it is health on here, and a lot of it is, I would say, miscellaneous stuff as well. However, I am going to change that. I'm making an early New Year's resolution to start putting more on this channel and start bringing you guys content that you guys like. Now, I think 5 years ago, I tried to change this channel around a little bit and I tried to move everyone over to a different channel. I just didn't know what I was doing. But I could have just renamed this channel and everything would have been fine, but I didn't do that. Anyhow, so we are just going to call this Rockin' the Midlife, okay? So here I am in my early 50s, and that's exactly what we're doing. So today I want to bring to you a topic that I think some of you guys might relate to, and that's pain. Man, when we hit these 50s, I remember someone saying the golden years just aren't so golden, and I'm starting to believe them. I mean, everything hurts. It's like you're a rotisserie chicken all night long. You just can't turn in bed comfortably. You can't reach and touch your toes anymore. You can't climb up on stuff. It was about a year and a half ago. We redid our roofing, and it was funny because we both climbed up on the roof. The shingles were really bad and we needed to do them. So we decided to do them ourselves. And my husband looked over at me and said, you know what? 10 years ago, we would have had this done in a quarter of the time. We hurt, but we did it. We got through it. And you know what? That's a topic that's really near and dear to me these days. And I want to talk to you about stuff that you can actually do for it today. Now, first, before I go into it, I want to kind of share with you a concept of what's actually going on. Now, it doesn't matter if you've fallen, you've injured yourself, or you're just tightening up in general. Uh, if you've had an injury, you've had, I don't know, it just seems to the body just doesn't move anymore. What's happening is the fascia is tightening up in there, and even after you heal, you don't seem to heal like you used to anymore. I mean, I know I've been there, guys, and man, the 50s really suck. But there are some things that I've actually been doing that are actually helping me, and I am going to talk about that. But first of all, before we do anything, I want to talk more about the fascia and to give you an idea of what's actually going on. Because if I show you what I'm actually doing, it's not going to make any sense. You're going to look at me and say, get out of here. I don't want to hear that one. So let's take a look at what the fascia really is. And I'm going to just try to share my screen here. But right here, this is from John Hopkins Medicine, and it's about muscle pain. It says it may actually be your fascia. which I find often it is. So I'm going to just kind of read through it a little bit here. You might attribute a painful neck or headache to tired muscles or stiff joints, but these symptoms can also be caused by the part of your body you probably haven't heard of before, and that's the fascia. Until recently, this network of tissue throughout the body received very little attention, despite its major role in every move you make. And that is so true. And it's not even just the movement in your body, it's more than just that. It's actually a communication system on itself for the entire body, just like your nerves and everything else. So, we're going to look more into this right now and take a look here. So, what is the fascia? The fascia is a thin casing of connective tissue that surrounds and holds every organ, blood vessel, bone, nerve fiber, and muscle in place. The tissue does more than provide internal structure. Fascia has nerves that make it almost as sensitive as skin. When stressed, it tightens up, and boy, do we know that, right? Although fascia looks like one sheet of tissue, it's actually made up of multiple layers with liquid in between called, now I'm going to try and say this. I've never been able to say it. It's called hyaluronan. Sorry if I can't say that. And I should know how to say that because I've worked in medical for many years. It's designed to stretch as you move, but there are certain things that cause fascia to thicken and become sticky. And when it dries up and tightens around the muscles, it can limit mobility and cause painful knots to develop. And boy, do we know that when we're at this age group, right? Okay, so healthy fascia is smooth, slippery, and flexible. Factors that cause fascia to become gummy and crinkly are which they call adhesions. You probably heard of that term before, adhesions, hey? These include a lifestyle of limited physical activity to little movement day after day. So it's important that we keep our bodies moving. We need to keep exercising. I don't mean we need to run a marathon. I don't mean we need to go to the gym every day, but we need to keep moving, right? Repetitive movement that overworks one part of the body, that can cause it to sticky up. You know what? We know that, especially if we are reaching over our heads for any length of time, or we're fixated at our computers or anything like that. We can feel it right in here, right? And then there's trauma, such as surgery or injury. And I experienced that a few years ago. And I'll talk about that more in a little while when I go to show you what I do. Is it fascia pain? Determining whether your pain is due to muscles, joint, or fascia can be difficult. In general, muscle injuries and joint problems feel worse the more you move. Fascia adhesions tend to feel better with movement and also respond well to heat therapy, which helps bring back the tissue's elasticity. And if you're like me, it's nice to put on either a hot shot or a rice bag or a heating pad, isn't it? For some people, heat adhesions can worsen over time, causing the fascia to compress and contort the muscles it surrounds. You see people that are hunched over, they have maybe severe scoliosis. That is your fascia pulling them over. This can result in hard, tender knots in the muscles called trigger points. Myofascial pain syndrome is a condition in which those trigger points can cause pain to occur. Now, I heard on one site that this fascia, when it's compressing like that, can sometimes put as much as 2,000 psi of pressure on your body or in a given spot. And you can imagine why your body's hunching over. That's why we need to try to loosen that fascia. Okay, myofascial pain syndrome is a condition which those trigger points cause pain to occur during movement, when pressure is applied, in seemingly unrelated parts of the body, which is called referred pain. Treatment focuses on relieving pain and getting tight fascia and muscle fibers to relax. Medical options include pain relievers, physical therapy, and injections of medicine or medication directly into the trigger points. But there's other things you can do as well. You don't have to go to medical treatment. How to keep the fascia flexible? Keeping the fascia healthy has many benefits. You'll move more easily, you'll have better range of motion, and experience less pain. Things you can do to prevent fascia problems include move more. In addition to consistent but varied exercise routine, it's important to be active throughout the day. Have a desk job, take at least a 2-minute break every hour to stand up and move around, which helps fascia stay supple. Consider walking meetings or stand up and walk around participating in conference calls. I've done that before. Stretch regular. Stretching is essential to good health. It reduces the risk of inflammation and structural problems in the body. Focus on posture. Slumping over a desk or a phone or walking in an awkward way to compensate for injury can cause fascia to tighten. Try to maintain good posture while sitting and standing. Okay, so here's some ways to relieve fascia pain. There's heat therapy. Apply a heating pad to the affected area to take a warm shower or bath. You can also use a rice bag. In fact, the rice bag is probably better. It doesn't give you the EMF that can be also harmful to you. And fascia can conduct a lot of that stuff, so you want to be careful when you're using a heating pad. A rice bag is probably much better. Yoga therapy. See a highly trained yoga therapist. And there is a difference between yoga, regular yoga that you go in to attend as a class, and a yoga therapist. To get a regiment of yoga poses targeted to treat your pain area. Yoga therapy works in the same manner as physical therapy. The therapist creates a routine and you practice it at home between visits. Foam rolling. Try a foam roller, a cylinder of hard foam that you roll your body over to release tension. It is a form of self-massage. You can also do it with a lacrosse ball. Now, I have something even better I'm going to talk about at the end of the session. I haven't had much luck with foam rolling or balls, but I have something that does work well for me, and you can give it a try. Massage therapy. Schedule multiple therapeutic massage sessions with an experienced therapist who can find and apply pressure to release the knots. And then acupuncture. The insertion of acupuncture needles into the trigger points can cause tense tissue fibers to relax. And I have done that, and it does help. Treating fascia pain often requires using more than one therapy. A patient treatment plan may include a combination of things such as heat therapy, an anti-inflammatory diet, yoga therapy, and guided imagery, which helps patients relax by visualizing themselves pain-free. Most people experience tense muscles from time to time, but it is important to get help for chronic and severe pain, which may be a sign of a serious health condition. Okay, so that actually brings me to my sponsor that I want to take you to. It kind of connects perfectly in with this. It is a free training course that's provided to help you with things such as chronic pain and getting you back in, getting your body reset and back in order. Take a look. Sorry, just had to grab a drink there. Water. Have you ever seen people or coworkers carry a water bottle around daily? You probably think they're crazy because you're probably one of those ones that can't drink water. Give yourself coffee or pop or something. You have no problem, right? Well, honestly, those people have figured out that they need to drink the water in order to be healthy. Yeah, I know you're saying, Shannon, you're harping at the wall, but no, honestly, I'm not. I actually crave water. I need it daily. And if I don't, I feel sick. I have clients coming to me all the time saying, but I just can't drink water. Well, I say it's a bunch of bunk. There are some real reasons why you can't drink that water. And you're going to be surprised as to why. Water is key to many biochemical processes within to maintain itself. The body needs water to self-repair, to self-maintain, to even self-heal. And without that water, it's a sinking boat. It can't do anything. And honestly, you've heard people say that a person can live without food for many weeks, but they can't live with water for more than a few days. And that's so very true. If you do not have some water intake, the body is going to just shut down. It's key in the elimination process and to flushing out toxins. It's key in hydration. It's key in so many processes needed for the body to execute in order to stay healthy. That's why I've developed this training. What you can do to actually help your water intake and why you can't actually drink the water. I also have tips on how to increase your water intake on it. And not only that, this training session is not only to do with water. It's to do with 2 other specific tips that you need to help regulate your body to get back on track with wellness. I've also teach you why you're stuck in the situation that you're in. So if you have about 35 minutes to watch this, I challenge you to register for this training session, and you will have a new insight about what you can do to start getting yourself back on track and feeling better today. Click the link and we will see you inside. You may wonder how to get past this. That article I just read, you may think, well, all of that sounds fine and dandy, but I've tried it and it doesn't work. And yes, that some of them may not work for everyone. I personally like to have heat, and I will do that either with a hot bath or I will have a rice bag. One thing that I find is very reliable, and that's something called block therapy. And I'm going to kind of just share this website with you. So block therapy, I believe it's based out of Manitoba, but this is something I and a few others have stumbled into, and it's tended to be a lifesaver. As you can see, Deanna's in that picture. That's the head of block therapy. And you see how she's laying on that block? She is trying to release the fascia decompression. And you can do this in various parts all over the body. And block therapy has a starter program that you can start up in, and then they train you how to do this. It's fairly inexpensive, and it can save you a lot of money. I know it saved me lots when it comes to going to massage appointments and everything else. It may be a little bit of an investment in the beginning, but it is something to take a look at. I do find that this is a great tool to use. Now, as you can see, here's some before and after pictures with people getting their fascia released just by using this block therapy. Look at this young man here. He had a severe scoliosis off to the side. And after 7 weeks of this, look at how straight he's become. Now, there looks like there's still a little bit of a curve there, but that's incredible after 6 weeks. And look at this person here. You know, when our legs we get the excess weight on and we get very dimply, as you can see, the dimples are starting to release there. This fellow, his spare tire is starting to disappear. This same thing with this lady here. Now, yes, they have programs for all people. They have physical therapy programs, but what block therapy does touch on is not just the decompression that you see Deanna doing here. What it also does is it helps teach you proper meditative breathing, and it can be a go-to. Now, when I use it, I more often than not have found that it was a great natural sleeping pill or sleeping method. I would get on the block and I would actually find that probably within 15-20 minutes, if I was struggling to sleep, I was actually starting to doze off. Now, that's probably because my body was processing toxins and everything and clearing them. My body just was overwhelmed and needed to sleep. But yes, that's what was happening. One of the first things that happened for me is I would actually start to fall asleep. And it was funny because I would wake up, say, an hour or two later and realize, oh, I did totally relax because, and I'll get into this a little bit more, that I noticed the fascia wasn't as painful there anymore because in the process of falling asleep, I actually allowed myself to relax. So it's really good that way. Anyhow, this is my block. And if I'm going to go any distance away from home, I do not want to leave without it. I used to work for the post office, and sometimes they would send me away up north to La Ronge to actually go fill in. I tell you, that is a busy post office. And I would actually take it with me. And when I got done, I'd be using it after work just to get through because my body was just tightening right up. Now, in 2020, I had a really bad year. And it wasn't to do with COVID, honestly. I had fallen and slipped and hit my head in early February when I was on call at the hospital. I was still working as a lab tech then. And I hit the back of my head, had a super bad concussion. I was rushing to the hospital to go collect some blood cultures, and they ended up keeping me there for a while. And I didn't think there was anything wrong at first, but I did notice after about an hour and a half, my wrist started to become sore. Can't remember which wrist it was anymore. and I went out to the emergency and I asked the doctor that was on for the emergency that day. I says, "Can I have an order to get this x-rayed in the morning? Don't need to call anyone in. I'm sure it's fine. I don't think it's broke." But I fell and slipped on ice and I told him what happened. And he said, "Okay, I need you to be careful." He said, "If you have any signs of dizziness or anything, you need to get your butt in here," he said, "because that means you've got a concussion." That was about 11:30 at night, and 5 o'clock hit, and I couldn't even stand up. I called in sick. I remember getting in the bathtub, and I was dizzy getting in the bathtub, but when I stood up, I just about went flying because I was so dizzy. I was ready to throw up. And I knew I had to go in. I called in and said, "I hit my head last night. I'm going into the emergency this morning. I can't work." So for the next several months, and what I didn't realize is I also re-injured my back as well at the time. So I was off this was early February, and I didn't start going back to work till the end of August. Now I seemed to be doing much better, and I was no sooner back to work, and I was getting ready to go on holidays with my husband. Only a few days before, and I just received word that I was going off workers' comp. I had been on the return to work program for months by then. But I just received word that, yes, if I continue to hold in 1 month, they were going to take me off the program. And I was going to do laundry so we can go away a day or two later. And the furnace in the rental house we were in was leaking all over the floor. And I had an armful of laundry. And I slipped and I fell. And I ended up fracturing my left arm. It was a radial head fracture, hairline, but oh my gosh, did it hurt. And the next day, I wrapped it with a tensor, thinking I just stretched the muscles. And I went in, and when I got to work, I realized my hand was swollen right up. I don't think it was from the tensor. I think it was from the break or the fracture. And I went and I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to go get them to look at this." So they did. They took x-rays. It took all afternoon to get the x-rays back from Regina. This was in Estevan. And when they came back, I said, "Yeah, okay, you've got to put an immobilizer on it." "Okay, that's fine. In 2 weeks, you can take it off. We're not casting it. That's going to make it worse." So On the holidays, I had a sling. Just that was all I needed, right? So I bared through it. We went and did our holiday. While I was in a sling, I was bound and determined I was going to go. I was supposed to go in for physio, but we were so busy when I got back that I was constantly on call, and then getting into physio was really hard during the pandemic, right? So physio just wasn't possible. But the arm I could not lift, even though it was healed, and new x-rays indicated that it was healed. I just couldn't lift anything. It was a real struggle when I was working with patients at work and everything else. So I used my block to get the arm moving again. And yes, it was me. The connective tissue had probably just seized up, and because of the immobilization, but that block was a lifesaver. I didn't need physio. After 2.5 days, I had full range of motion on my arm again. And I have never looked back. So if you think you have had an injury and that's not a good thing, no, this is actually a good tool. It will actually help and enhance any physio you were doing. The one thing I tell my clients with it is doing this in between will speed everything up. So if you are struggling with a lot of pain from that fascia, from an injury or something like that, the injury is technically healed, but you're still really stiff. That's the fascia that's tightened up, and it, for some reason, it just can't get the signal to release. And you know, a lot of people say that after a break or something, say they break their arm, it's just not the same. Well, I got mine back. I got it back just by using that block therapy. Now, I don't say that you shouldn't go to physiotherapy because it's really good to learn some stretches. And those are stretches that you could probably use forever to keep you going. But in between, using that block therapy really enhances the healing. Now, I had a car accident. I hit a deer the night before my birthday, a couple years later, 2 or 3 years later. I was driving home from my mom's, and it was foggy, and I broadsided a deer. And yes, I was slowed down, but that didn't do anything. And I totaled my wonderful, beautiful Equinox. I love that car. It was so good on gas compared to what I drive now. But anyhow, it took me probably almost, I would say, 18 hours to get home. I had to wait for someone to give me a ride the next day, come and get me. My husband was working. It just wasn't, he, plus he was working nights, plus he was sleeping, and he was too tired to come get me. So my friend drove me to Melfort. She wasn't too far away from where the accident was, or I shouldn't say the accident. She wasn't too far away from where the tow truck driver lived. So she came and got me. And I was so stiff. And this was already, it was my birthday, it was Friday, and I wasn't going to get in to see any chiropractor till Monday or Tuesday. Probably, most likely, Tuesday. And I think that's what it was. So, what did I do? I pulled out my handy block and I blocked for 6 hours straight. And you think that's crazy? It's easy once you get going, when you recognize the relief on that thing, it's easy to block for 2 or 3 hours. If you start feeling really shaky, sometimes you need to back off for a little while. But I tell you, yes, I did have whiplash, but that block stopped me from seizing up completely. It was my lifesaver. So, what happens when you block? So, basically, let's just say it was on my arm. It has to be on a solid surface, but you're kind of searching for pain in it. So, and you would lean your weight, and when you find the spot, you lean your weight. Now, you'd make micro moves as that pain disappears, but yes, you are searching for pain, and it is going to hurt probably instantly when you start leaning on it if you find the right spot. You know how massage therapists will find a little spot and it hurts, and they just hold that spot, and then all of a sudden you feel go. Well, that's kind of what the block is doing. It's a neurofascial reset type product. And this is one you can do yourself. No, it's probably not as heavy as, say, rapid neurofascial reset. It does work in a passive type mode. So you're not going to have that instant relief, but you will, after a few minutes, start to feel the relief. And then you just make little micro adjustments to find the pain again, and then and that's how I worked it. Now, I'm not a practitioner in it. I'm not trained, but I do recommend you give it a try. You may think it's like 150 or $200 to get started, depending on what package you get. But think about the amount of other appointments you are going to save when you get this. I mean, I'm not saying don't see them all together, but it has really decreased the amount of chiropractic appointments I've gone to, with the exception of when I injured myself. So I am going to show you a brief little video that I've done now that has a link in which you can go into to find your own starter package. And I believe if you get into it before the end of December 2024, you get in on the old prices. So do check that out. Anyhow, I just wanted to bring you this product because it's something that has been a huge benefit in my midlife years. And it's just something that I want to share with everyone. And it's like an awakening. It's like an awakening that we don't have to live in pain. And yes, there's an initial pain involved in this treatment, but there's relief at the end of it. So please check this out. Check out the website. I'm providing a link for the starter package, and you can see if this is ideal for you. Anyways, hi. Block therapy is my go-to when I've had a long, hard day. It helps release tired muscles, tight fascia, and even Charlie horses. It saved me oodles of money on massage treatments, neurofascial, and other treatments, and it's relatively inexpensive to get going. Purchasing a starter pack gives you everything you need, from not only the block, but all the starter videos and everything else you need to get started. And the support is unlimited. Block therapy is practitioner recommended. Thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for listening to this video. Good luck on your block therapy journey. I know you're going to love it. See you in the next video.